Hey everybody, we are starting a new book today called Animal Farm by George Orwell. This book here, it's actually, some people would even call it a novella. It is a smaller book. That's literally what novella means, it's a smaller novel. And that's pretty much encompasses anything that's 100 pages or less, which is what this book is. With that being said, we are going to begin it now. Okay? Chapter 1. Mr. Jones of Manor Farm had locked the hen houses for the night, but was too drunk to remember to shut the pop holes. With the ring of light from the lantern dancing from side to side, he lurched across the yard, kicked off his boots at the back door, and drew himself a last glass of beer from the barrel in the scullery. Then he made his way up to bed, where Mrs. Jones was already snoring. As soon as the light in the bedrooms went out, there was a stirring and a fluttering all through the farm buildings. Word had gone around during the day that old Major, the prize middle white boar, had a strange dream on the previous night and wished to communicate it with the other animals. It had been agreed that they would all meet in the big barn as soon as Mr. Jones was safely out of the way. Old Major, so he always wanted to be called, though the name under which he had been exhibited was Willingdon Beauty, was so highly regarded on the farm that everyone was quite ready to lose an hour's sleep in order to hear what he had to say. At one end of the big barn, on a sort of raised platform, Major was already ensconced on a bed of straw, under a lantern which hung from a beam. He was 12 years old, and had lately grown rather stout, but he was still a majestic-looking pig all the same, with a wise and benevolent appearance in spite of the fact that his tushes had ever been cut. Before long, the other animals began to arrive and make themselves comfortable after their different fashions. First came 3 dogs, Bluebell, Jessie, Pincher, and then came the pigs, who settled down in the straw and immediately in front of the platform. The hens perched themselves on the window sills, and the pigeons fluttered up to the rafters. The sheep and cows lay down behind the pigs and began to chew the cud. The 2 cad horses, Boxer and Clover, came in together, walking very slowly and setting down their vast hairy hooves, and with great care lest there should be some small animal concealed in the straw. Clover was a stout, motherly mare, approaching middle life, who had never quite got her figure back after her 4th foal. A foal is the name for a baby horse. Boxer was an enormous beast, nearly 18 hands high, and as strong as any other 2 ordinary horses put together. There was a white stripe down his nose that gave him a somewhat stupid appearance, and in fact he was not of first-rate intelligence, but he was universally respected for his steadiness of character and tremendous powers of work. After the horses came Muriel, who was a white goat, and Benjamin, who was a donkey. Benjamin was the oldest animal of the farm, and the worst-tempered. He seldom talked, and when he did talk, it was usually to make some cynical remark. For instance, he would say that God had given him a tail to keep the flies off, but that he would sooner have no tail at all and no flies. Alone among the animals on the farm, he never laughed. If asked why he never laughed, he would say that he saw nothing ever to laugh at. Nevertheless, without openly admitting it, he was devoted to Boxer. The 2 of them usually spent their Sundays together in the small paddock beyond the orchard, grazing side by side and never speaking. The 2 horses just laid down when a brood of ducklings, which had lost their mother, filed into the barn, cheeping feebly and wandering from side to side to find some place where they would not be trodden on. Clover made a sort of wall around them with their great foreleg, and the ducklings nestled down inside it and promptly fell asleep. At the last moment, Molly, the foolish, pretty white mare who drew Uncle Mr. Jones' trap, came mincing daintily in, chewing on a lump of sugar. She took a place near the front and began flirting her white mane, hoping to draw attention to the red ribbons it was plaited with. And last of all came in the cat, who looked around, as he usually did, for the warmest place to sit. And finally, she squeezed herself in between Boxer and Clover. There she purred contentedly throughout Major's speech, without listening to a word of what he was saying. All the animals were now present except for Moses, that tame raven who slept on a perch behind the back door. When Major saw that they had all made themselves comfortable and were waiting attentively, he cleared his throat and began. Comrades! You have heard already about the strange dream that I had last night, but I will come to that dream later. I have something else to say first. I do not think, comrades, that I shall be with you for many months longer, and before I die, I feel it my duty to pass on to you the wisdom I have acquired. I have had a long life. I have had much time for thought as I lay alone in my stall, and I think I may say that I understand the nature of life on this earth as well as any animal now living. It is about this that I wish to speak to you. Now, comrades, what is the nature of life of this nature of life of ours? Let's face it, our lives are miserable, they're laborious, and they are short. We are born, we are given just so much food as will keep the breath in our bodies, and those of us who are capable of it are forced to work at the last atom of our strength, and that very instant that our usefulness has come to an end, we are simply slaughtered in hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That's just plain truth. But is this simply part of the order of nature? Is it because this land of ours is so poor that it cannot afford a decent life to those who dwell upon it? No, comrades! 1,000 times no! The soil of England is fertile. Its climate is good. It is capable of affording food in abundance to an enormously greater amount of animals than now inhabit it. This single farm of ours would support 12 horses, 20 cows, hundreds of sheep, and all of them living in comfort and dignity that are now almost beyond our imagining. Why then do we continue in this miserable condition? Because nearly the whole of the produce of our labor is stolen from us by human beings. There, comrades, is the answer to our problems. It is summed up in a single word: man. Man is our real enemy, the only real enemy we have. We must remove man from the scene. The root of cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever if we can just remove man. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk. He does not lay eggs. He's too weak to pull the plow. He cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits. Yet he's the lord over us animals. He sets them to work. He gives back to them the bare minimum that will prevent them from starving. And then he rests. He keeps all for himself. Our labor tills the soil, and the dung fertilizes it. And yet it is not one of us that owes more than his bare skin. You cows that I see before me, how many thousands of gallon milk have you given during this last year to man? And what has happened to that milk which should have been breeding up sturdy, healthy calves? Every drop of it has gone down the throats of our enemies. It's gone down the throats of man. Every drop of it has gone down the throats of our enemies. And you, hens, how many of your eggs have you laid in this last year? And how many of those eggs were ever able to hatch and become chickens? The rest have all gone to the market for money for the Jones and his men. And you, Clover, where are those 4 fowls you bore who could have been support and pleasure for you in your old age? What happened to them? Each one was sold before they were even a year old. You're never going to see any of your kids again. And in return for your 4 confinements, all of your labor in the fields, what have you ever had except for your bare rations in a stall? That's all mankind has ever given you. And even the miserable lives we lead are not allowed to reach their natural span. For myself, I do not grumble, for I am one of the lucky ones. I am 12 years old and have had over 400 children. Such is the life of a pig. But no animal escapes the cruel knife in this world. You young porkers who are sitting in front of me, every one of you will scream your lives out at the block within a year. And to that horror, we must come. Cows, pigs, hens, sheep, everyone! Even the horses and the dogs have no better fate. You, boxer, the very day that those great muscles of that you lose your powers, Jones is going to sell you to the knacker, who's going to cut your throat and he will boil you down for the foxhounds. And as for all the dogs, When they grow old and toothless, Jones going to tie a brick around their necks and he will drown them in the nearest pond. Is it not crystal clear, comrades, that all the evils of life of ours spring from the tyranny of human beings? Only get rid of man and the produce of our labor could be our own. Almost overnight, we could become rich. We could become free. What then must we do? Why, we must work day and night, body and soul, for the overthrow of the human race. Then, that is my message to you, comrades. We must rebel. There must be a rebellion. I do not know what that rebellion will come. It might be in a week or it might be in 100 years, but I do know this. As surely as I see this straw beneath my feet, that sooner or later justice must be done. Fix your eyes on that, comrades, throughout the short remainder of your lives. And above all, pass on this message of mine to those who come after you, so that the future generation shall carry on the struggle until it is victorious. And remember, comrades, your resolution must never falter. No arguments must lead you astray. Never listen when they tell you that man and the animals have a common interest, that the prosperity of the man is the prosperity of the animal, because that is all lies. Man serves the interests of no other creature but man himself. And among us animals, let there be perfect unity, perfect comradeship in the struggle. All men are enemies. All animals are comrades. And at this moment, there was a tremendous uproar. While Major was speaking, 4 large rats crept out of the holes and were sitting on their hindquarters, listening to him. The dogs suddenly caught sight of them, and it was only by a swift dash of the holes that the rats saved their lives. Major raised his trotter for silence. Comrades! Here's the point that must be settled. The wild creatures such as the rats and rabbits, are they our friends or they our enemies? Let us put it to a vote. I propose the question to the meeting. Are rats our friends? Are they comrades? Vote was taken at once, and it was agreed upon by overwhelming majority that rats were comrades. They were friends. There were only 4 dissensions, the 3 dogs and the cat, who were afterwards discovered to have voted on both sides. With that, Major continued, I have little more to say. I merely repeat, remember always your duty of enmity towards man and all these ways. Whatever goes on two legs will always be our enemy. Whatever has 4 legs or has wings is our friend. And remember also that in fighting against man, we must not come to resemble him. Even when you have conquered him, you must not adopt his vices. No animal must ever live in a house, or sleep in a bed, or wear clothes, or drink alcohol, or smoke tobacco, or touch money, or engage in trade. All the habits of man are evil, and above all, no animal must ever tyrannize over its own kind. Weak or strong, clever or simple, we are all brothers. We are all animals. No animal must ever kill another animal, because all animals are equal. And comrades, I will tell you about my dream of last night. I cannot describe the dreams to you. It was a dream of the earth, that as it will be when man is vanished. But it reminded me of something that I had long forgotten. Many years ago, when I was a little pig, my mother and the other sows used to sing an old song which they knew only by the tune and the first 3 words. I had known that tune in my infancy, but it had long since passed out of my mind. Last night, however, it came back to me in a dream. And what's more, the words of that song also came back. Words, I am certain, which were sung by the animals of long ago and have been lost to memory of generations. I'm going to sing you this song now, comrades. I am old and my voice is hoarse, but when I have taught you the tune, you can sing it better for yourselves, because it is called The Beast of the Nation. Old Major cleared his throat and began to sing. And as he said, his voice was hoarse, but he sang well enough. And it was a stirring tune, something between Clementine and La Carucha. The words rang, Beast of England, beast of Ireland, beast of every land and clime, hearken to my joyful tidings of the golden future time. Soon or late the day is coming, tyrant men shall be overthrown, and in the fruitful fields of England shall be trod by beast alone. Rings shall vanish from our noses, and the harness from our back. Bit and spur shall rust forever, cruel whips no more shall crack. Riches more than mine can picture, wheat and barley, oats and hay, clover, beans, and mango whirlsors shall be ours upon that day. Bring will shine the fields of England, purer shall its waters be. Sweeter yet shall blow its breezes on the day that sets us free. For that day we must all labor, though we die before it break. Cows and horses, geese and turkeys, all must toil for freedom's sake. Beast of England, beast of Ireland, beast of every land and clime, hark and wail and spread my tidings of the golden future time. The singing of the song threw the animals into the wildest excitement. Almost before Major had reached the end, they all began singing it for themselves. Major had reached the end, and they began singing it for themselves again. Even the stupidest of them already picked up the tune, and a few words of it at least. And all for the clever ones, such as the pigs and the dogs, they had the entire song by heart within minutes. And then, after a few preliminary trials, the whole farm burst into Nations in a tremendous unison. The cows loved it, and the dogs whined it, and the sheep bleated it, and the horses whinnied it, the ducks quacked it. They were so delighted with the song that they sang it right through 5 times in succession, and might have continued singing it all night if they were not interrupted. Unfortunately, though, the uproar woke, and Mr. Jones, who sprang out of bed, making sure that there was not a fox in the yard. He seized the gun, which always stood in the corner of the bedroom, and let fly a charge of number 6 shots into the darkness. The pellets buried themselves in the wall of the barn, and the meeting broke up hurriedly. Everyone fled to his own sleeping place. The birds jumped up their perches, and the animals settled down in the straw, and the whole farm was asleep in a moment. All right, guys, that is the end of chapter 1 here. I did have a couple things I wanted to bring up to you guys. Keep in mind the Russian Revolution. I'm hoping, if you haven't already, guys, please go back and look at my little notes on that. Definitely that allegory kind of stays through this entire story. Right now, these animals they're revolting. And I want you guys to think to yourself, I personally love this story. I really do. I hope you guys like it too. But I love the perspective of what if our animals could think for themselves. And when you really think of it, a lot of animals, especially farm animals, really do have a raw deal. I know some of you guys have farms. A lot of you guys don't. But think about for your farm animals. What if one day they were to say, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired of just being controlled by these humans. And that's kind of what this whole premise of the story is. What if the animals were to overthrow us? With that, guys, I'm going to see you later. Take care. Bye.